What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Games Recap.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us, where we take yesterday's or today's biggest piece of news that happens before the show, and we break it down for about an hour.
And who are we? I am Brandon Fan. This is
Larry Charles.
And we are game developers, so you're getting game news from game developer perspective.
Yeah. Legit game developers. Resumes with
some
credentials. I don't know if you'll call them good credentials or not, depending on if you like the games that we worked on, but we made games.
Yes. So if you're joining us live, if you want to interact with us in the future, if you're watching the recording of this, you can go to our twitch.tv/blue_champs. You can give us your opinions, and we'll choose to air it or not. And
we always keep the comments open on our phones,
right.
So we pull questions directly from the Twitch audience live. So that's the best way to get questions asked on air, to ask us anything specific, or to just insult us because you're there. You can do that too.
If you don't want to insult us live, but you want to insult us later, go to our youtube.com/bluechamps.
Yeah.
Bam, right there. And you can watch any of our previous episodes or any second of this that you've missed, obviously. And if you want to support us directly, go to our patreon.com/bluechamps. Our next goal is to make this an audio podcast form, which means that you can listen to us on your commute or wherever you want to go. And lastly, well, maybe two lastlies, if you want to get any of these cool ass shirts that we wear on there, right? You can go to our bluechamps.com/merch and support us that way.
Yeah, grab a shirt.
And second, lastly,
if you notice that we've been losing weight, it's because we've been eating less. And we found out that Amazon Prime allows people who have the Amazon Prime Twitch membership to give $5 towards any Twitch channel that they really appreciate. So if you appreciate us and it's just laying around, feel free to drop that on us and get a crown for our channel. We appreciate it. All of our supporters, everybody who even is just a regular subscriber, thank you for paying attention to what we do. We had 2 Subway sandwiches yesterday because we had 2 Twitch Prime subscribers the day before.
Yeah.
And so thank you. That was delicious.
Yes. Thank you all. And we're going to go to today's topic, Kablamo.
I'm looking forward to this one. Nintendo Switch Lite.
Yes. I was always teasing Larry, maybe they'll wise up and create a console for him for his big-ass hands. They went the other way around and made it even smaller. So the Nintendo guys, in a popular fashion to kind of cement their placehold in the handheld business, right? They had the DS, which is still selling really well, but they are going full on with the Switch and creating a Lite version, which is a smaller version that you can't detach the Joy-Cons. And it's just basically a handheld device. Yeah, but it is able to play all the Switch games that you know and love.
Yeah, because each Joy-Con isn't separate, there's a lot of technology that they're able to just put into the unibody design, shrink it down a little bit. Sadly for me, like you did say, yes, I'm a huge gamer. I love, in more ways than one. I love lots of games, but also I loved the idea of the Switch. But I can only play the Switch with the regular Joy-Cons for maybe 35, 40 minutes before these joints in my thumb knuckles start to hurt because of how far I have to pull down my thumbs to try to articulate. So it's a bummer. And with the Switch Lite, I was like, all right, cool. Oh, it's smaller
Super
screen,
light.
smaller unit.
Super light.
This is not smaller price tag though, $199 versus the Switch's price, which actually I think was still the full $299 for a Switch.
You think it's still $299?
I think it's still $299 for the Switch.
I thought it was like $250.
Right now.
Let me look it up.
And then $199 for the Switch Lite. So, well, I do know that the Switch Lite will be $199 come September the 20th. You can get it in turquoise, gray, or yellow. And between the three, I was eyeing that yellow. I think the yellow would be the color of choice for me. And none of what we're doing right now is paid promotion. We are actually going to be breaking down the good and the bad about the Switch Lite. So for your perspective, Brandon, you got a kid. You can give them a less expensive, more durable Switch.
No, I'm not going to give them another Switch.
less parts to lose.
Yeah, so I think it's a great, obviously the console guys figured out ways to, I think there's the phones that actually introduced multiple models of the same thing and have been really successful at that.
Yeah.
And, the PlayStation started the trend, I felt like. With the slim version.
Oh, got you.
Yeah. And then the Xbox started doing their Scorpio or whatever, multiple configurations every year. It basically repackages the same console with slightly more power, and they're able to create buzz and interest again every December, which is the half console that we always teased about. Nintendo is, out of all the console, have been like the lightest of the few. Like, they had their Switch console out. And
Here's
it's been
the GameCube, and it's just always been GameCube.
Yeah, they never really.
It's always been the Wii.
Yeah, they're handheld though. They always done that, where they have the deluxe version, the Lite version, and so it's great to kind of see them transfer that knowledge over to what they're doing now with the console, which is Nintendo Switch Lite. I think it's a great move for people who haven't bought a Switch yet. It's a lot cheaper for the parents to kind of buy in. $100 cheaper. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
33%, I think.
Yeah,
the original price.
I don't know if people who have a Switch would go out and get a Switch Lite as well. What do you think?
Well, I already have a Switch, and I personally wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't like that it's a smaller screen, and I don't quite remember if it's like a higher power, higher resolution screen. I did hear that it was a higher resolution screen, but it's also smaller.
Yeah.
And so that was like, oh, but it's, more detailed but smaller. Mm-hmm. I still prefer the larger screen, me personally. My on-the-go gaming is almost non-existent now. Mm-hmm. I don't really enjoy the Switch. Even with a bigger iPhone, I still have a hard time with how big my hands are covering most of the screen when I play anything.
So with you already having a Switch, do you have a Switch?
I have a Switch.
Okay. If they had come out with a bigger one, you would buy it?
I think most people are trying to usher me towards buying a Pro controller, and I just wasn't in that boat. I just knew that I would only be playing 30 minutes at a time.
Right.
I never went into get the Pro controller.
So the people with opposite problems who have smaller hands,
they're probably ecstatic.
Kids
especially, parents. Like, so for you, I would imagine, let's say
I got good hands.
He wants his own Switch so he can play with brother.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, cool. Well, instead of spending another $300, I'm just going to spend $200 now, you know, and it's, more durable. There's not, like, if you lose one Joy-Con, you've lost the accessibility for the Switch altogether.
It's true.
Now they have to lose like half a mouse pad. Like, I can see that thing being a great opportunity for kids, and the color schemes that they went with, huge seller for kids. Huge seller for kids. I can see that being the primary market. Yeah, in my opinion,
they're very smart. We all know that they're working on their next console, but I don't know if they should move. They always try to innovate their consoles into a new way to play. I feel like they need to stick to this type of model here.
I think the Switch has a lot of life in it, especially since we knew since the Wii that they weren't going to compete in the graphic fidelity arms race. Yeah. The Switch is now respectable in those terms. Like, I've seen like top level games on the Switch, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Especially when it's like small in front of your screen. It's beating what I feel like an iPhone experience would be. Yeah. So they can hold that market down for a while before feeling like, okay, we're 10 years behind now. We need to do a new version of the Switch.
Exactly. I think a Switch 2
way too soon.
Would be too soon, but if they were to update it, right, you just innovate from that model, like a handheld version, and just upgrade the graphics and just stick with that, because they are in a lane of their own. Yeah. The mobile market will never transition into a controller-based gameplay, right? And Stadia is nowhere near it. I mean, I think Stadia is already dead in the water.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like, dead upon arrival with their pricing model. So I think the Switch is completely, again, created their own user base. No one's interested. We already know where Xbox and PlayStation is going with their next console. They are enjoying this place that they created their own. And I think they need to just stick with the Switch for another few years, and then when the PlayStation 4 chips falls down from the factories, they can put it back into the Switch too. Which is very smart. I think they're the only console that actually day one is profitable.
In a while, yes. It's been a while since I've known
But their motto is always like 5 years behind in tech from the other consoles. I mean, 2 years, right? 2-3 years.
I would say in visual fidelity, yes, right. Like, I would say where they graphically represent themselves, I've always felt like Nintendo's been good enough. Yeah. Excuse me. The Wii wasn't good enough to me, but it offered leaps and bounds worth of gameplay experiences that I couldn't play or get anywhere else because of their Wii controllers, and like how they were starting to innovate and actually bring me and my movements into the game, which was a first. So that was the huge selling point, which makes up for, but the games look like really bad. You know what I mean? And so Switch still has a bit of that, which is like with the Joy-Con controllers, how you're holding them, with the Labo stuff, the way that the console is like allowing itself to be interacted with
very
like
smart.
actual new, like what do you call them? Peripherals, like the cardboard peripherals. So much more could be expanded down that lane where it's just like, man, this console has a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
I feel like. So I don't think they need to change anything anytime soon just because people want to see it prettier. They're always going to want to see it prettier.
Yeah, I mean their games lend to be stylistic.
Yeah.
So I don't see an issue with any of their needs to be. They're at a point where their graphics are fine.
Yeah.
Like the only times that we kind of squint, but even now the third-party games that are going on, like Doom or something, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it's done right, you can actually push the power of the Switch and do something really fantastic looking.
Yeah.
I would say I have gripes with Breath of the Wild, but I also, as a developer, understand Breath of the Wild is like stylized, and it's also a huge open world where like some of the draw distances, depending on where you're standing, are quite large. And even with culling strategies, you might have a lot of stuff just on the screen at once. Whereas if you have a more intimate experience, you know, hallways, tunnels, corridors, large rooms, but not large open vast playscapes, you can probably do so much more with the Switch. I mean, I was playing Mario Odyssey before Jenny went to Texas with her, and we were playing it on her 4K TV big screen, and I remember just sitting there like, damn, actually this game was 60 frames, right? And it looked good. It was fantastic. It was a great experience.
Yeah, I mean the computer hardware nowadays is not, it's way past PlayStation 2 days. You're basically dealing with the PlayStation 3.5 technology, right? With the Switch, and you can get a lot out of that with how their games are. So Nintendo's in a great place. I mean, they're making moves pretty much in a non-competitive arena, and people are gonna buy a lot of the Lite for people who have been holding out, or additionally for their kids, and so they're gonna make money. Very smart price model. Whoever decided years ago to go the opposite route of PlayStation, Xbox. It needs like a Lamborghini along with their bonuses, because they were teased at that point, right? I remember press and everybody was like, "Oh, they're not even showing up at E3 anymore, so they're not even trying." But you know,
it's too early to like ever call Nintendo out or dead, because Nintendo leaps and bounds as far as innovation and creativity go. I feel the most genuine developments happen there, and I've seen the most fast follow, like Wii 2. With Sony, Microsoft. Right?
I forgot about the Wii too.
Yeah, well, they're like, or I meant like us also, not Wii too. They're like, oh, we have the Move controllers. Like, oh, we've got the Kinect, and we've got the PlayStation Eye or whatever, because the Wii was killing it. You know what I mean? They had no plans to do any of that stuff until they saw the Wii. Like the shitty looking graphics console outselling them significantly. Wii Sports, like the free game that came with Wii, was like one of the highest video game sales on eBay because people kept buying the disc. Oh my God. Yeah, the Wii was a period. Oh man. Anyway, so Switch Lite. Here's what I can say are the good things. I like that it's easier to fit in the pocket. It's better for on the go. Sure, I'm going to throw myself out of this. Smaller size, I'm sure there's a lot more people who are like, they could care less because the other one wasn't too big or wasn't too small. And so knowing that this is smaller and more portable, okay, awesome. I'm hoping that the battery life is going to be better. I don't know for sure. I'm just hoping. And I could be wrong on that, though, because
it's smaller.
The Joy-Cons had their own power supply, and then the Switch unit itself had its own power supply.
I don't think it's going to be longer.
Now it's all three combined into one, so... And then there's less space for a battery, so maybe the battery power isn't.
It should be
but
less.
It's a smaller screen. So who knows? I'll go look at that. I'll look that up in the phone in a second. The other thing for me is there's a lot of people who didn't adopt the Switch, who I can see adopting Switch Lite, who are going to have access to something like 1,800 games. Like how many Switch games are there's a ton of Switch games.
I don't think it's
like,
1,000.
No, including the indie stuff and the box stuff.
Sure.
There's a shit ton of Switch games that you guys can start playing like right away. And you only paid $199 for the console. I think now is a great time to be introduced to Switch, because there's Mario Tennis is out, Mario Odyssey is out, Mario Kart is out, Zelda is out. Those 4 games alone, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
will carry you through the rest of the summer. And all of them are selling significantly less than the original MSRP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think their strategy is really sound. It's hard to say anything bad about them. They're doing great. So, yeah, go buy a Switch if you haven't already.
Yeah, I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
My one thing for me, though, is like one of the benefits that I always thought was cool about the Switch was like setting it up on its little dock and then having the controller in my hand.
Yeah, not being able to kind of separate the joysticks and then playing with a friend.
So now you're always going to do.
That's a huge feature that's for $100. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels very individualized.
You can still link up, of course.
Yeah, local multiplayer still good.
But yeah, that is an aspect if I have one on a bus.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
Like if we're playing those micro games where we set the monitor and then each one of us has a small controller, that part of it.
That commercial that we made fun of when they're like at a party and they were playing the Switch.
Yeah.
People actually do that.
Yeah.
That was people who have a Switch, they just
bust it out
and separate the controllers, and we play 2-player games.
Yeah. Overcooked. Oh, God, I love that game.
Yeah. So it is interesting to see if that loss of a huge feature, in my opinion, will sway people away from that. But I think people who are going to buy the Switch and they already strategize for this is that they're not going to buy the original Switch, right? Yeah. But this, if anything, will entice them more.
And if you wanted an original Switch, I'm pretty sure come holiday season, because we're close,
you're
probably going to see the $249 bundle.
Yeah.
Right. Not only $249, but a free game thrown.
Or at least a $300 with a game.
Yeah, depending on where you go. If you go to Best Buy, they're gonna be like the $400 Switch.
Yeah.
With 8 games, extra Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
The old Best Buy bundle.
Yeah.
One thing I can say though that I think is interesting is just the design and the pitch of the Switch itself. When I really think about all the stuff that this console allows you to do, like we didn't talk about Amiibo. Mm-hmm. You know how Nintendo has this whole Amiibo market of like buy these toys. They did Toys of Life so smart, man.
Is that still a thing?
It can be. So like Breath of the Wild. We know Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out, and just like I did with Breath of the Wild 1, I'm going to put all my Amiibos to see what they give me for that game. Because Breath of the Wild rewarded you with outfits or like a horse or like food or like weapons.
So break down the Amiibo stuff. So I didn't buy into it, right? So it's like a memory card?
No. I think it's like an RF reader or something. I forget the actual chip technology. It's like very similar to when you go to like a bookstore and they have like those books that have that little tag that
barcode?
Like, or not barcode, but like the security scanner will know if you tried to remove the item. There's like this little. It's like a better way to describe it is like ID cards. You know, plastic ID cards. It looks just like plastic, but when you touch the thing, it knows that it's you and it lets you in the door.
Right.
So similar technology. Each Amiibo has like a registered number like to it. That when you tap it to the Wii or the Switch knows like, oh, you've placed the Twilight Princess link on me. So when you do that, I'm supposed to give you big meat, a sword, and a horse or something like that. So all of a sudden, a treasure box pops up in the game. You open the treasure box, and then you pull out like goodies that help you play that game.
Oh wow!
So now you're like, well, what do my other Amiibo do? Or even worse, I really love this Zelda game, so I'm gonna go buy all the ones that I know will give me stuff for this game.
So is every game a unique Amiibo to it, or every Amiibo will work for every game?
It's half of both.
Okay.
If the developers utilize Amiibo technology, they can use every Amiibo that exists. They probably have like some sort of registry that they can just, if you use this one, our game will give you a speed boost.
So they just have a list of like,
exactly.
we can give you whatever. If you
use the Bayonetta one, we'll unlock a new costume. If you use the Donkey Kong one, we'll give you your character, like the developers, I guess, decide what the features will be.
And they make it rare, right? Nintendo doesn't print like a warehouse for a release. I remember it was like very rare to get like certain Amiibos.
Certain Amiibos are very rare, especially when it first came out. The craze was huge. People were like
It's the
scalp them
Pokemon
and- yeah.
Pokemon role.
But yeah, that's a great. So like a Pokemon game, I would imagine that's like huge for Toys to Life Amiibo potential. Like if I'm using Charmander and I drop a Charmander Amiibo,
Yeah.
maybe that gives him a heal. Maybe that gives him the next attack is critical.
Yeah.
And there's like cooldowns on you using this stuff. So like you can't just keep giving
Right.
yourself.
It is a very clever thing.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot that you can do with that, and I guess that's something that I thought was cool. The Let's Playable version of put the console down, but each one of us picks up a joystick.
Yeah.
Cool. Local multiplayer is back. Like that was by far like my biggest and most favorite thing. I just don't have enough nerd friends to like try that out.
Sorry, Larry.
Like me and Bruce, maybe we could play some Fortnite together.
I got a life.
But you see where I'm going with that.
No, it's an interesting feature where being a console maker, they have the advantage to incorporate that with every
Yeah.
game, right? Like if we looked at Activision and even Disney, they didn't have that ability to kind of like say all games kind of
Yeah.
support the system that we have going on.
Skylanders worked with Skylanders,
Yeah.
but it didn't. There was no sort of like
Yeah.
large scope vision of what that would do.
Yeah, it was smart that Nintendo took advantage.
Amiibo
And
is
saw the
not just
benefit.
a great looking desk toy, but depending on what game you're playing, you know, there's additional functionality that you unlock.
Yeah, the toy business overall is in a downfall.
Yeah.
Right. No one's buying toys like we used to. Like even my kid I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Just plays exclusively Legos.
Yeah.
I give him an action figure. Look, it's Spider-Man. It's like the real action figure. He's like, it's not a Lego. I don't care.
Yeah.
So, and even Lego is plateauing
Yeah.
as a business, right? They're not able to kind of get past their peak right now.
I can see why, man. You know, like think back to when we were kids.
Yeah.
We had action figures because we were able to pretend in like
Yeah.
Royal Rumble arena with like Michelangelo versus Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we
yeah.
were, because what else did we have?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We didn't have Netflix.
Yeah, we didn't have Netflix. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have console that we could take in the car and play inside on the TV and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like the Super Game Boy or whatever was a close attempt
Yeah.
at the Wii or at the what do you call this? The Switch, right?
Yeah.
Like you had your Game Boy, but then you could put your Game Boy game in the Super Nintendo for Super Game Boy and continue your experience on the screen. So that was like my first. That was the first time I saw Nintendo trying to achieve this, but this is like a much better execution,
yeah.
obviously. But yeah, it's. I forgot where I guess I was trying to dig
Well,
into,
I
but
think
yeah.
that what you're saying is Amiibo is like the step forward for the toy business.
Yeah,
and it's crazy that the toy industry isn't doing more partnerships like this with the game business, because we do go hand in hand. It's the
Yeah.
same exact market they're trying to break into.
Yeah.
And I think it is interesting to have more collaboration
Yeah.
like this. At least, like it's kind of dumb if a toy business haven't approached Magic Leap.
Yeah. It's
You know what I mean? Or HoloLens.
Yeah.
Like they're not working in tandem for like some, or Legos, trying to do, I know Legos has some kind of app and trying to incorporate some AR stuff, but not to the level of a game,
Yeah.
right? Where they need real consulting from game designers to really crack that.
if I was driving the business behind any toy company, I mean, you can't be that we've done in toys here for
Yeah.
80 years this
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and we're going to keep doing it that
Yeah,
way
yeah.
because you're just going to die.
Yeah.
Your company is going to die.
Yeah, man. They need to go full in at the very least with the iPad.
Yeah.
And implement some AR shit.
Yeah, I think
Like if I can hold my action figures like I used to, and be able to like send a message through the screen where it picks up like a stage. Holy crap! If I do like certain action, it actually shoots out the spider web
Yeah.
and stuff through my iPad. Oh
Yeah.
my god! I'll play it differently. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have the iPad in front of me,
Sure.
doc. But like that alone, holy crap!
look, the concept of toys to life works.
Yeah.
Right? Skylanders was successful,
Yeah.
hugely, immensely successful.
Yeah.
Disney Infinite, in my opinion, was successful.
Yeah.
People bought into it, and people bought the damn toys.
Yeah.
People bought the damn Skylanders. People bought the damn Amiibos.
Yeah.
The rest of the toy industry is scratching their head like, well, people don't want to buy the Rock action figure anymore. Or people
Yeah.
don't want to buy. Like the times are changing, and I think that Toys to Life makes a ton of sense because the people who played with toys when they were kids
Yeah.
now have more disposable income, and that's something nostalgic about it. But
Yeah.
you know what I see? I see their desks lined with toys that make them feel good and individualize their space, but they don't play imagination stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But what I do see is like, oh snap, I'm gonna play this game anyway, but if I tap the toy, I get this cool thing in the game.
Yeah.
And like there's this relationship now that the toy still has much more importance than just being a desk ornament.
Right.
That I think is a major advantage that toy companies should look into more. 100%. Like the Toys to Life works. It's the saturation that kills it. You know what I mean? Skylanders, 80 new Skylanders a year, and I'm just generalizing here, every year, because Skylanders is profitable, so keep pumping out toys, keep pumping out software, kills the experience because people can't keep up. It's just the value.
The value is wasted, but it's a closed ecosystem, which you can only play it with the game that you just bought.
Yeah.
Nintendo has a lot of life because they limited the supply, constantly have high demand. And it's a global system.
Yeah.
It transfers from multiple games, which is giving it a lot of life. So, like we mentioned before, the Switch Lite, keep coming out with iterations like that. It's going to sell. Don't be in a rush with the Switch 2 unless it's like some higher grade AR technology that you're incorporating with it. But they can go so many different levels that I think is already innovative as they've always been from the other console makers. Console makers like PlayStation and Xbox are just constantly upgrading their boxes, right? Yeah. It's the same controllers every time. That's fine. There's a method to that. There's a huge market for
They
it.
added DualShock, and then they added like the 6-axis.
Is that still a thing on the PlayStation? The 6-axis?
I don't play.
No, right?
I don't play any games on PlayStation where I do this.
But they don't have it, right?
No, they do.
They still have it.
It's in there.
Oh my god!
PlayStation 4. It also has like
it probably costs like $1 now to
touchpad
add it in there,
and it has this thing.
Sure. It's a good controller for what it is.
Yeah.
But like, there's they already made like basically 3 consoles. The Labo can be its own thing. Yeah. It's like its own peripheral.
It's a lane.
It's a whole different. Oh my god, the way I see my kid uses the Labo, it's insane.
Yep.
It's very creative. And then of course the Amiibo. That's a whole different thing. They can do Amiibo too within the Switch, and really incorporate the AR stuff.
And to give Labo some more credit, like I as a game developer, I struggle with the fact that like I ruin opportunities for people to use their imagination.
Yeah.
Because me using my imagination is what got me to where I am in my career.
Yeah.
And like I had a lot of practice when I was a kid, like playing games, modifying rules, and just making up these worlds or environments that existed inside of reality with my friends. Yeah. Right. Now games, like you don't need to imagine. You just play the game that does everything for you. Yeah. And so one of my biggest concerns was that like I'm contributing to like killing off imagination in the youth. But I feel like the Labo is actually a step back towards what I used to enjoy. It was like, we're giving you this video game thing, but you're also doing this cool extra layer to it that like, oh, you've built something. Yeah. And now you're like actually pretending to be like the motorcycle. You're still playing a game.
So just crazy.
Even that half step back towards pretend and like open up a world bigger than what the game software is like showing you inside the screen. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, the toy industry needs to take a page from Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo's killing it.
Like for some reason, I feel like the partnership, because Nintendo is very focused in what they're doing and what they're doing next. I don't really see too many partnerships, or maybe they're not interested because they remain to be a very small company, right? But they try to step into that with the mobile stuff as maybe like a plan B. I felt like if the Switch didn't work out the way they intended to, but I think they completely closed that gate now too, right? It's like, nope, we have our own fucking mobile.
I saw Mario Runner and I saw like Pokemon Go.
There's nothing else about it, right?
And then the other Pokemon game that they made.
They tested it.
Other than that,
yeah. I mean, the Niantic Labs Pokemon it was like them kind of putting their feet in it, but they only get like 20% of the revenue stream from that or something.
I think there
for
was
licensing or something.
I think I was on Instagram one day.
Yeah.
And I saw like it was this real potent, I think it was a picture of a tweet, but somebody had said something along the lines of, the closest we ever got to world peace was that summer when Pokemon Go came out. And I was like, damn, that's good.
Everybody was going all over the neighborhoods.
I was at the malls and I'm just seeing like groups of people like catching their Pokemon together and all that shit, especially out here in California.
Yeah.
Man, Pokemon Go was hot out here. that summer.
Yeah, that summer. It's still relatively hot.
Yeah.
I mean, that company pumps like $1 million plus every
Pokemon Go still makes
every
money.
week. Yeah. So I think they're leaving a lot of money on the table by not going outside of their focus a lot of times, because I feel like they can really approach fucking Legos and be like, hey, we can bring your Legos to life. Like, let's work on that. Yeah. Right? People can buy your toys, and then we'll have like a visual imaginary world within our screen. Yeah. Like, I think they're in a better partnership than if Lego goes ahead and does like an iPad app. Yeah, like, you know, it'd be a more reasonable partnership.
The Labo version of Lego would be fantastic.
It'd be amazing.
I have this board that my phone recognizes. Like, there's some sort of QR style or Labo style pattern recognition. Yeah, and then the structures that I build up has AR support. So imagine like a tower defense game where I'm building something to protect the cheese, and like I'm building it tall, or I'm building it wide, or I'm building it long. Yeah. The game knows I have like 100 pieces at my disposal or whatever, and each piece on this board affects this game in a different way. That's really cool for kids because they're like seeing what they've built have some sort of interactivity with the game. That fixes that imagination loop, because when they're like, oh, let me try something different, they have the complete agency to build Lego in a different way, or to build a different type of wall or maze or structure, and then see what that does to the game. You know what I mean? I like that. I think that could be something.
That can be future work for us. To be honest, I don't think there's a lot of companies that are pitching the bridge here, or at least there's very few that actually see the Toys to Life business 2.0. Yeah. I think it's a huge business right there that can resurge a lot of the toy industry that I feel like it's just plummeting. And I don't think it's going to recover unless they think the next step. I think it's just a lot of old guys behind desks that, and this is how it used to be. This is how my daddy did it. That's how his daddy did it.
What's sad is like Activision created the Skylanders Toys to Life craze, in my opinion. Yeah. I give them credit for at least me being aware of it and seeing how big it got. I completely credit Skylanders for that. It grew so fast, and then when it died, Activision just didn't support it anymore. Right? I don't hear anything about Skylanders.
Yeah, toys. They just turn off the lights completely.
It's done. Like they think like that phase is over. Yeah, they literally discovered that a type of gold mine exists, but because they depleted the one that they found, they haven't gone looking for others or trying to replicate yet, to my knowledge. Yeah, and that's sad.
That's the Activision. That's the sad part.
You've discovered that like this is a great way for people to play with toys.
They sucked it dry, dude.
Yeah, and now they're like, oh, Toys to Life is dead. You saw what happened.
It's not $1 billion industry anymore. Yeah. The toy industry is dead. We gotta get out while we're hot. Yeah. Another Call of Duty.
Disney Infinite is gone too. You want us to jump back in there, Larry?
Yeah, Disney Infinite was their last Disney effort in games.
In games?
I mean, they announced their exit from games before Disney Infinite, and Disney Infinite was a game in production that saw like a significant.
Man, I never played it, but I can imagine that game has so much potential. That because the
licenses,
they are pumping so much money behind these characters and these stories and generating new ones every year. And then sharing these through movie form with
huge potential.
The entire world.
I think it really fell apart because it was just not a good game. Okay. This is where, from what I've heard, the Skylanders was a game made by game developers.
Skylanders was.
Whereas, of course, Disney Infinity was made by developers, but it wasn't. They were relying too heavily on the licenses instead of the experience.
You get to be Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, that's enough.
On a pirate ship.
Yeah, like, they were just kind of.
Why is it fun to be Jack Sparrow?
Exactly.
Like, that's the question you need to answer.
Yeah, well, just throw the character in there and just do a mini game. It's easy. Next character. So yeah,
necktie game design.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's to anybody that's worked on the game. Well, I mean, it didn't work out, so don't be crying to us.
After I leave here, I'm gonna go watch like somebody doing a gameplay of Disney Infinity so I can see. Like, okay.
It was very simple from what I've seen. I mean, every franchise basically has their own world, that you can play in, and it's not as deep of a system, right? You've seen Skylanders, right? It has to work as a game before you put on the toys, and the characters are kind of just like part of your inventory to enjoy the levels.
You know who's missing out right now is Blizzard, Riot, and Valve. Toys to Life tied to MOBA could be a significant thing.
All right, don't give it away.
And I'm serious though, but like that.
No, but
that is it right there.
I'm very surprised. I think Nintendo is, even if they are the leader right now with the Toys to Life business with their Amiibo, I don't think they're going hard enough. Like I don't think anybody's going hard enough. I think everyone's completely dismissing this potential business here. Like the toy and games business goes hand in hand, and it's crazy, especially with the technology available now, that it isn't a bigger deal. Like every toy needs to come out with a chip that you can put into some type of software that you can play as a game. I mean, that's how you extend the life, the shelf life of every one of these toys.
And please,
dude, I would be,
God,
dude. If
I could design the Toys to Life.
Yeah, if the Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse toy figure, I just watched the Spider-Verse toy came out, right? And I can take that and put it on my Nintendo or PlayStation or even something on my PC connected. I would love to see some type of interaction, even if I can hold up my iPad and be able to play around like green screen with it, right?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I can see him swinging around and shooting things. I was like, oh, what? Like he's shooting his webs. It's adding that post-production layer with the screen.
You know who did
that
something
alone is cool
that I thought was really intriguing for the time? It was super limited, but it was fun, and I saw the seeds of something really cool. You remember Tamagotchis and all that stuff, right? So Sega Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure, they kind of borrowed a little bit of that, where you had like Chow Racing, where you get these. It's like Sega's version of like a baby chocobo from Final Fantasy, right? That's the best way I can describe it for people who don't know. And you can get them and put them in your VMU, which was like your memory card, but it also had its own screen and buttons, so that you could go to school and have like these little tiny game experiences that increase the stats of your Chow. So then when you go back home and then you put him back in the game, he's buffed up a little bit more because you were able to successfully play like 20 mini games while you're at school before your battery died. And then now when you do Chow Racing or whenever you interact with your Chow in the game, he's just that much better. And that created this very addicting loop for me, especially as a high schooler at the time. Man, I was always on my VMU trying to play these little stupid games so that I could go back home at the end of the day, plug it in, and then have this better experience. A little bit of that with Toys to Life would be incredible. Like, all right, I bought this figure. I've unlocked this character in this game that I love. But I now also am like saving updates or stats just for that character inside of this character.
Yeah.
And if I go to your house and we want to duel, I'm going to bring my best three.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hook them up to your game, and then like
their
stats travel with.
Yeah.
So that there's importance to having that toy.
Yeah.
There's importance to me playing with those toys, but I'm also bringing like actual data with it. I think could be cool.
Yeah, the Dreamcast, remember the memory card used to be its own little mini console?
I just said that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sorry for ignoring the first part of that. But like what I mean by that is that it needs more of that with every toy. People, what's the main problem? Like buying the figure and then it's sitting there.
Yeah.
And kids are lacking imagination, or I wouldn't say lacking imagination, because I still see my kid play with the toys. It's just that he loves the Legos because it extends its usage beyond just, here it is, I'm playing with it. He can reassemble it.
Set, but it can become anything.
It can become anything. He can change the hat. There's a customization to it. I think applying that to everything would be beneficial to everybody. I think the game business is constantly needs to look at ways to extend their software, right? They're trying to do a DLC or any content that you can buy extra. If they can extend that beyond from walking away from the TV, this is why the Switch is doing so well, is that I can walk away from home and play with it in this busy world, right? It just fits with that lifestyle. So any software that doesn't have the advantage of being a console maker should look at toys as a way to, like, if I'm walking away at my house, I can still have my Solid Snake with me somehow. You know what I mean?
Like this means something.
Yeah, as an adult, I'm excited about that. I mean, I think that would be really cool.
I give credit to Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, the Pokemon game that was in between the last major Pokemon update and then the new Sword and Shield. It kind of returned to the original 151 Pokemon, I think, but they added in the like Pokemon Go style gameplay of like, I have this little Pokeball thing on my belt that I can put a Pokemon in, and if you like roll
That's
the ball,
smart.
it would make noise of the Pokemon that was in there.
That's cool.
And you can use that ball to actually capture Pokemon while you're playing randomly out on the street or some shit. It's been a while.
No, but
something like that. But they added that extra layer.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a complementary effect, right? One is all digital, one's very tangible. Like having both would be, it makes sense, and it's crazy in 2019 that there isn't like a flourishing business.
Yeah.
Because that is a sector on its own. There's always going to be a physical thing that has nothing digital about it, and the digital part that has nothing physical. But there's like a third arm that no one's really going hard at. And I know these guys are constantly scratching their head about what we can do with the toy business.
Yeah.
Which I think it's just a bunch of old guards.
Yeah, that's
not willing to take risks.
I see that. Like, don't stop the gravy train.
What gravy
Stops
train?
Innovation.
I think we had a guest that talked about this.
So many ways. You know what I mean?
Well, that is about an hour. So let's go over how things are. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We are here again every 10 a.m. about a specific topic. And if you are watching a recording of this and you want to join us live next time, if you're joining us live, that is our twitch.tv/blue_champs. You can watch the recording as well if you miss a second of this on our youtube.com/bluechamps. Yep. If you want to support us directly, you can go to our patreon.com/bluechamps to turn this into a audio podcast one day.
Yeah.
And additionally, if you like any of the shirts that we're wearing, not Larry, mine, you can go to our bluechamps.com/merch. Yeah.
But you can't get that at Marshall's.
You can't get this at Marshall's.
That you got to get from our merch site.
Yes. And so if you want to be a Twitch Prime subscriber, every day we're putting a challenge somewhat. If you are laying that around and not doing anything with it, we appreciate the love on that side. So that concludes.
Any help helps.
Yes, today's episode. So Larry, you got to see us out.
Okay. It's hot outside. You take your hat off to wipe the sweat and you put it back on. Consider yourselves recapped.